New markets tax credits are helping set a new pace for sustainable economic growth in the city of Perris. Meanwhile, the city continues to benefit as a favored location for logistics, manufacturing, and retail facilities. But what do we know about the enhanced infrastructure financing districts and how Perris may be poised to benefit from this new economic development tool? To fill us in on the details and give us his perspective, I'm joined by Mr. David Tausig of David Tausig & Associates, a public finance, facilities planning, and urban economics consulting firm. David, welcome. It's nice to have you.
Great to be here, Jack.
Tell us a little bit about the new market tax credits. What are they and how do they work?
So a new market tax credit is a program that's been around since about the year 2000. It was created by the federal government. And the idea was to have encourage private sector money to be put into census tracts throughout the United States that are considered distressed census tracts. Distressed means the median income of the individuals living in the area is low, the unemployment rates are high, the poverty rates are high. It's surprising because there seem to be a lot of census tracts that are considered distressed that you might not think of as distressed. But the important part of the program is the federal government is willing to subsidize approximately 25% of the cost of the construction of a particular project, as long as the private sector comes in with their 75% and invests it in those particular census tracts.
So then let's talk about now really who benefits here. I mean, is it the business owners in the city of Perris who are starting a new business? Are these existing businesses looking to expand in the city?
They both apply. The real people who benefit, I think the point of the program is that you end up hiring locally a particular number of individuals, so you're really generating jobs in areas where there aren't a lot of jobs. So the point of the program is to get local folks working. There's usually some kind of requirement that a certain percentage of the people hired come from within the city or that type of thing. Not all the employees, but a lot of the employees. But the people who have the projects, and they both include expanding existing projects and brand new projects, certainly benefit because 25% of their cost of putting in the new facilities or constructing new facilities all would be paid for by the federal government under this program.
And tell us exactly how these funds are administered. How does it work?
So what happens is the federal government actually appoints local agencies, and they're given the ability to sell tax credits to major institutional investors. And these investors are willing to pay for these tax credits because it means for the next 7 years they get to write off dollar for dollar a certain portion of their income in return for having purchased these tax credits. So the return to the investors really are the tax credits, the fact that they save money on taxes in the future. The money that they pay for these tax credits gets invested in the local community by these local agencies that have the ability to sell tax credits. So these local agencies end up cooperating with the city, choosing particular projects that are very worthy and will be generating a lot of jobs locally, and presenting them with the 25% as long as the other 75% comes in from the local developers themselves and local projects themselves.
David, tell me a little bit about the kinds of businesses or the kinds of industries that could benefit from these tax credits.
Well, the program was actually created in the first place to deal with what they call urban deserts or food deserts. And these are neighborhoods that didn't have any shopping centers, didn't have any retail grocery stores, or had very, very few. So the program was created partially to encourage the development of having grocery stores come into areas they would normally come in by subsidizing 25% of the cost of the construction of the grocery stores. Our firm and our staff have worked on a couple of them in downtown Los Angeles, one in San Diego, one in Fresno. So that was the initial impetus for the program. But since then, it's now expanded out. We've done a medical center, an urgent care type center in San Bernardino. That's the one project that has been really successful in the Inland Empire. We've done a movie theater in the Fresno area. Again, these are all particular census tracts that qualify under this particular program. And we're very excited about opportunities in the city of Perris because there's so much going in terms of various types of industry. And I think this is the extra touch, the extra attraction that will really help bring in even more industry, because in the city of Perris, approximately half the city qualifies for this program. And as a result, anybody locating in those areas would qualify to get this particular subsidy.
So With that said then, I mean, is there any other qualifying criteria that may restrict a business owner or a developer from participating in this program?
Okay, of course, being in the geographical census tracts is key. That's number one. Number two, you have to show that you're going to be generating jobs. If you've got something where you've got an existing firm, you've got existing number of jobs, you're just expanding the facility, but you're not going to be hiring any more people, we would be rejected. We would not be approved for something like that. Anything where we're generating jobs, that's really the key. And you have to have a program where you're going to make an emphasis on trying to attract people from the local community. There's not a quota where you have to hire a certain number, but you have to have a program that goes out and affirmatively does that. Also, it's a 7-year program, so you've got to keep those folks working for a 7-year period.
David, tell me a little bit about what makes the City of Perris so attractive with respect to this particular program and to those seeking to do business in the area.
Well, in particular, about half the city qualifies geographically as distressed census tracts. So you've got a large area within the city that qualifies. Also, Perris itself is so centrally located. It's basically halfway between San Diego and Los Angeles. We already know it's been attracting a lot of industry lately, particularly logistics businesses. This is the extra touch, I think the extra attraction that will really put Perris over the top and really generate that much more business because it's such a great location. You've got a really a local labor force that's in need of jobs, and you've got a large chunk of the city that qualifies geographically.
Now, where can a business owner or developer go to determine if their project is located within one of those census tracts?
Right. So Michael McDermott, who is the Economic Development Director for the City of Perris, has a copy of the map. Otherwise, of course, they could contact us directly. And there is also a website that Mike can give out to anybody who gives him a call, where they can look and see whether their particular project is located within one of those census tracts.
Now, can they also qualify or begin the application process for the funds through Michael's office, or where do they go to do that?
Again, Michael he's great at coordinating this sort of thing. You don't need to go through the city. In actuality, the city's kind of, they support you, but you don't need city approval, anything along those lines. But I think in the case of Perris, because you've got such an active, aggressive economic development department, contacting Mike would be the perfect place to go.
Very good. David, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk to you now about the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing Districts. Now, these are kind of new. We saw the dissolution of the redevelopment agencies back, I think it's been 2011, I believe, is when that happened. And this is kind of a new idea to maybe take the place of what those agencies were intended to do. Could you share with us your perspective on how those work, and if this is something down the line that may be of some interest?
Yeah, I think it's a great program. It's something the city would have to approve on an individual project by project basis. Basically, when redevelopment, in case those folks don't know exactly how redevelopment works, a developer or anybody who's a property owner, when they develop their property, there's an increase in the assessed valuation of that property. And as everybody knows, property taxes are based on the value of your property. So if your property doubles in value, whatever taxes are collected against that increase in value, that's called tax increment. And that money is available under redevelopment to sell bonds to build infrastructure and pay for other supportive facilities for new development. The Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, we kind of joke, we call it redevelopment light. And the reason is that it only makes available about 50% of the money that redevelopment did. So it's about half as good as redevelopment. But it's also better than having no redevelopment. And the idea here is that if you're coming in, you're putting together a project and you get the city's approval, any increase in value generated by your project can be used to sell bonds in support of your project, as long as the city agrees to give up the income that it would normally get from those property taxes. The city is essentially giving up its share of the property tax increase from your property in order to help you move your project along.
And I think we need to again stress that this is kind of a new idea that started to gain some traction in some communities across the state of California, but still something that's new and something that the City of Perris may be looking into at this point.
Yeah, January 1st, 2014, so it is a very new program, absolutely.
You have quite a bit of experience in working with the communities of Riverside County. In the Perris area, we know logistics has played a vital role in really creating some economic strength or some sustainability there. Tell us about, from your viewpoint, tell us how important the logistics industry has become with respect to the economy in the Perris area, from your vantage point.
It's really the major source of jobs, other than real estate development, which is only coming back now. Logistics is really the major source of jobs, new jobs in Riverside County. I think people have to recognize that when you build a logistics facility, it's not just the direct jobs in those logistics facilities. It's all the supporting firms. You have dry cleaners, and you have attorneys, and you have all the various types of parties that have to support the folks who are working in the logistics facility. In addition, you have the retail stores, because suddenly the restaurants have more lunch business and that type of thing. So it's not just the jobs located right in the logistics facility itself, it's also those jobs that come from it. In addition, what we found, people always talk about robotics and how that may eventually reduce the number of jobs generated by logistics facilities. And that's true to some extent, but what we've also found is that the quality of the jobs in a logistics facility that is roboticized, that has more computers and more types of more machinery, various types of things where you need a skilled person to actually use them, you find the increase in salaries in those particular, what used to be called warehouses, is very, very substantial. So you're really getting better quality jobs. So the robotization, while it is maybe creating a fewer jobs, you're also winding up with better jobs. And that's really where logistics is going today, no question about it.
We've seen some really big name companies come into the city. Ross is one, Lowe's is another one, Hanes brand, Whirlpool is another that has come in recent years. Why is the City of Perris an ideal location for a logistics facility like the ones that we've just talked about? Right.
Well, of course, a central location, which I mentioned before, being midway between San Diego and Los Angeles. And the fact that logistics, for those who don't understand, it's a place where you store things that eventually go to the retail market. And being so centrally located with a lot of land that's undeveloped right now, and the land compared to if you're buying land in Los Angeles County or Orange County, much, much less expensive. It's really kind of the ideal location, and I can see over the next 10, 15 years there being a substantial demand for it throughout Riverside County, and those communities that attract it and that are providing financing that's better than their competitors in other cities are going to wind up getting a lot of that particular development. So we're very, very excited about Perris being a location where we're going to have a lot of this type of development in the near future.
David, we're going to kind of wrap things up here, and I want to kind of find out from you how receptive the City of Perris has been to those new businesses or developers who are coming to the city interested in locating or expanding their operations in town. What have you found out?
Yeah, the Economic Development Department in the City of Perris is almost unique. They are very, very aggressive. They are looking into every possible way to help a commercial industrial developer come in, or businesses come in and locate in their city. They're the ones who contacted me about these particular programs. They're very interested in them. They understand them. We've talked to various people at the city about it, and they are actually bringing developers who come in and talk to them, hear about this, and end up calling us to ask about it and move forward with their particular projects. I would say that in the Inland Empire, you don't have as much of that as you might think. You just have a much more aggressive, ambitious economic development department in the City of Perris. That's been my experience with them thus far. Mr. McDermott is a perfect example of that.
David Tausig, I appreciate the time that we've had here in the studio today, and thank you so much for bringing clarity to some of these issues right now involving the City of Perris that make it kind of a really favorable place to do business. We appreciate your time.
Jeff, it's been my pleasure.
You bet. My guest has been David Tausig, president of David Tausig and Associates. For more information, contact the City of Perris at 951-943-6100 or visit cityofperris.org. For the City of Perris, I'm Jeff Allen.